What would it be like if there was once a village that the whole world knew about? A real place that once existed, home to more than 2,000 people. But after one freezing night, every single one of them vanished? No cries for help. No footprints leading away. Not a single body. Not a single item stolen. Only pots of soup still boiling, fire still burning, and half-finished clothes lying on tables, as if time itself had suddenly stopped. Even the graves in the cemetery had been dug up and were empty. What could possibly erase an entire community like that? A natural disaster? A mysterious disease? A supernatural force? Or a harvest from the sky? More than 90 years have passed, yet the disappearance remains unsolved. The government denied it. The police were powerless. Witnesses have long died, and every piece of evidence leads to a dead end. Today, we return to Lake Anjikuni, known as Canada's most mysterious black spot, to trace the final clues of one of the most chilling mass disappearances in human history. Lake Anjikuni, located in Nunavut, Canada, lies in one of the most remote, harsh, and freezing regions of North America. On its shores once stood a small Inuit village, whose people had lived there for generations. They built their fishing community along the Kazan River, relying on the abundant salmon and northern pike for survival. In return, they enriched this icy land with a culture full of myth and spirituality, tales of spirits and beasts whispered through generations. The most famous among them was the legend of the Wendigo, a terrifying flesh-eating creature said to haunt the endless Arctic nights. Life went on peacefully, until one winter night in 1930, when something unprecedented occurred. The entire village, more than 2,000 people, vanished overnight without a single trace. The first to discover the terrifying disappearance was Joe LaBelle, a fur trapper well acquainted with the area. He had often been warmly welcomed by the villagers, so when he approached Anjikuni one November day in 1930, he immediately sensed something was wrong. The village, usually lively and warm, was now plunged into an eerie silence. No barking dogs, no voices, no laughter of children playing on the snow. Joe entered the first hut, empty, then the second, the third, the fifth, all deserted. He ran through the entire settlement, shouting familiar names, but only the howling wind answered him. Everyone was gone, humans and even most of the animals. The remnants left behind only deepened the horror. In one house, the fire still burned in the hearth. Beside it, a pot of soup still boiling. 2 half-knitted sweaters lay on the table. And in the storeroom, food and warm clothes remained untouched. For the Inuit, it was unthinkable to leave home without supplies, especially in the deadly winter cold that could kill within hours. Deeper in the forest, Joe saw a thin column of smoke rising. He rushed toward it, hoping to find someone, but all he found was a burned-out campfire and a pot of stew left unfinished. Who had been there moments ago? Why had they vanished in mere minutes? Even for a seasoned outdoorsman like Joe, the realization sent chills down his spine. Panicked and exhausted, Joe ran for miles to the nearest telegraph office, gasping out a few broken sentences before collapsing, just enough for the operator to understand that something horrific had happened. The next day, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, immediately set out for Anjikuni. On their way, they met another trapper, Armand LaBelle, and his 2 sons. When asked if they had seen anything unusual, Armand recounted that a few days earlier, he had witnessed a glowing object hovering in the sky, changing shape as it moved toward Lake Anjikuni. Upon arrival, the RCMP found an even more disturbing clue in the village cemetery. Several graves had been dug up and were empty. It couldn't have been animals. The ground was frozen solid, and digging would have required sturdy tools. For the Inuit, disturbing graves was the greatest taboo. So who dug them up, and for what purpose? Expanding their search beyond the village, police stumbled upon a grisly sight. A sled dog team, starved to death, buried beneath meters of snow, despite lying just steps away from a storehouse full of food. Why hadn't they eaten? Were they trapped or terrified by something unseen? Some investigators speculated that the villagers had disappeared 1 or 2 months earlier, and that the traces of burning fires or boiling soup may have been caused by another unknown force, possibly extraterrestrial, as newspapers of the time subtly hinted. A storm of theories swept across the media, and soon the story of the dead village at Lake Anjikuni spread far beyond Canada. But fearing mass panic, the Canadian government swiftly censored all reports related to the incident. This was no coincidence. Authorities feared that an unprecedented supernatural event could incite widespread fear. They officially dismissed the story as a drunken fur trapper's fabrication, insisting that none of it ever happened. But the truth is, many traders in the region confirmed that they knew about the Anjikuni village and its mysterious disappearance, making the government's explanation seem less convincing than ever. As for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, they were forced to issue an official conclusion. Based on the nomadic lifestyle of the Inuit, the RCMP concluded that the villagers might have left their homes under emergency circumstances. However, they also admitted this was illogical. The Inuit might leave in haste, but they would never abandon their weapons, food, warm clothing, and survival tools, the essentials needed to endure an Arctic winter. From here, countless theories began to emerge and spread. Some believed the villagers were attacked, kidnapped, or murdered, and their bodies hidden. But police dismissed this. There were no signs of struggle, theft, or disturbance in the village. All of the Inuits' belongings were intact, and their homes untouched. Others leaned toward the supernatural, that the Wendigo, the flesh-eating spirit from Inuit legend, had appeared, or that the sky gods had taken the villagers away. The most controversial and most widely discussed theory was that of aliens and USOs, unidentified submerged objects. Many witnesses claimed to have seen strange lights over Lake Anjikuni on the night the villagers vanished. To them, the disappearance of an entire community within hours could not be coincidence. It resembled a mass abduction from the sky. A more grim theory suggested the villagers had contracted a mysterious disease, driving them to the nearby river to collectively end their lives. But this, too, was quickly dismissed. If they had committed suicide, where were the herd tracks? And why did the sled dogs starve to death right beside a warehouse full of food? After weeks of investigation, every theory led to a dead end. No evidence of an attack, no signs of migration, no bodies, no footprints leaving the village, no missing possessions. Only an absolute emptiness remained. Modern researchers have proposed new explanations, from extreme natural phenomena, mass psychological effects, to bold theories about extraterrestrial entities. Yet, no concrete evidence has ever supported any of them. To this day, nearly a century later, not a single bone, not even the smallest trace of the 2,000 Inuit who once lived in Anjikuni has ever been found. The village has completely vanished from history. That story has since blurred the line between fact and myth, between testimony and rumor, between police reports and human imagination. The only witness, Joe LaBelle, has long passed away, taking with him the secrets of that stormy winter night. Today, the tale of the vanished village by Lake Anjikuni lives on as a campfire legend, told in the pine forests of Canada, where the flickering firelight reflects on the silent lake. And sometimes people still say they see strange lights shimmering over the water. And perhaps the most terrifying question is not how they disappeared, but what could erase an entire community in a single frozen night. If mysteries like this make you question what lies beyond humanity's understanding, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to UFO Mysteries, because perhaps in the next episode, you might uncover another piece of the truth the world has tried to hide for decades. See you in the next journey into the unknown.